Have you ever wondered what a typical day looked like for ancient people 10,000 years ago? Not the dramatic hunting scenes from movies, but real, everyday life. Today we're going back in time to experience exactly how our ancestors lived from sunrise to sunset. Ancient people woke up naturally when the first rays of sunlight touched their faces. There were no alarm clocks, no schedules, just the rhythm of the sun. The moment someone opened their eyes, they had one priority: rekindle the fire that kept them alive through the night. The firekeeper would carefully approach yesterday's embers. They would gather dry grass and small twigs, then blow gently on the glowing coals until tiny flames appeared. This fire meant survival, warmth, protection from animals, and the ability to cook food. Families slept together in small groups around the fire. Children curled up next to their parents. Grandparents shared their warmth with the youngest ones. Everyone stayed close for safety and heat during cold nights. When the fire was crackling again, it was time for the first meal. Ancient people ate whatever food remained from yesterday's hunt and gathering. They would share pieces of roasted meat. They drank fresh water from nearby streams. Sometimes they found wild berries growing close to their shelter. Nuts and seeds provided extra nutrition to start their day. As the sun rose higher, ancient people began their daily work. Everyone had specific roles that helped the group survive. Men typically focused on hunting large animals that could feed many people. Women specialized in gathering plants, roots, and smaller creatures. Children learned by watching adults and helping with simple tasks. The hunters prepared their weapons carefully. They crafted spears using long wooden shafts. They attached sharp stone points to create deadly tips. They made bows from flexible tree branches. They carved arrows with precise stone heads. These tools required skill and patience to create properly. Hunting parties would track animals across vast distances. They looked for deer grazing in meadows. They followed wild boar through dense forests. Sometimes they encountered massive mammoths and worked together to bring down these giant creatures. Success meant food for the entire tribe for many days. While men hunted, women gathered plants throughout the surrounding area. They collected wild apples from ancient trees. They dug up nutritious roots using simple wooden sticks. They found mushrooms growing in shaded spots. They picked medicinal herbs that could heal injuries and illnesses. They knew exactly which plants were safe and which ones were poisonous. The gathering work required deep knowledge of nature. Women learned from their mothers and grandmothers which seasons produced the best fruits. They discovered where to find protein-rich nuts. They identified edible flowers that added flavor to meals. They located clean water sources that wouldn't make the tribe sick. Children accompanied the adults on these daily expeditions. They learned to recognize animal tracks in mud and sand. They practiced using small versions of adult tools. They memorized which plants helped cure headaches or stomach problems. This education happened naturally through daily life. When hunters returned successful from their expedition, the entire tribe celebrated together. Everyone gathered around the central fire to prepare the feast. They would roast large pieces of meat directly over hot flames. They cooked fresh fish on heated flat stones. They prepared vegetables by boiling them in containers made from animal skins, filled with water and hot rocks. The cooking process brought everyone together. People shared stories about their day while food prepared. Children played nearby, while adults worked. Elders offered advice about the best cooking methods. The smell of roasting meat filled the air and made everyone hungry for the coming meal. Ancient people ate everything fresh because they had no way to preserve food long term. Every meal had to be consumed quickly before it spoiled. This meant the tribe shared all food equally among every member. No one went hungry, while others had plenty. Everyone ate together as one large extended family. Meals were much more than just nutrition. They were social events. People sat in circles around the fire. They talked about the day's adventures and discoveries. They laughed at funny stories and jokes. They made plans for tomorrow's hunting and gathering activities. These conversations strengthened the bonds that held the tribe together. As evening approached and darkness began to fall, ancient people gathered closer around their fire. This was the time for storytelling and sharing knowledge. Elders told tales about their ancestors and the great hunts of the past. They shared important survival information with younger tribe members. They taught lessons about respecting nature and living in harmony with all creatures. The evening hours were also used for preparing tools and materials needed for the next day. People sharpened their hunting spears using rough stones. They wove baskets from plant fibers to carry gathered food. They worked on preparing animal skins that would become clothing and shelter materials. Ancient people were also artists and creators. They made beautiful paintings on cave walls, using natural pigments from colored rocks and plants. They told stories through these images, showing successful hunts, important animals, and spiritual beliefs. They created music by singing songs that celebrated their daily life. They danced around the fire to express joy and gratitude for successful days. These artistic activities weren't just entertainment. They were important ways to pass down knowledge and culture. Songs helped people remember important information about seasons and animal behavior. Dances celebrated the connection between humans and nature. Cave paintings recorded the history of the tribe for future generations. As the fire burned lower and people grew tired, families would arrange their sleeping areas. They used animal furs as blankets and beds. They positioned themselves close enough to the fire for warmth, but far enough away to avoid sparks. Parents kept children between them for protection and comfort. This was their life, simple, natural, and deeply connected to both each other and the natural world around them. Every single day was focused on survival, but it was also about community, sharing knowledge, and living in complete harmony with nature. They had no technology, no modern conveniences, but they had something we often lack today: a true understanding of how to live as part of the natural world rather than separate from it. Ancient people remind us that happiness and fulfillment don't require complexity. Sometimes the simplest life is the most meaningful one.